India as a country, next click please, we have a huge socio-economic divide in the country. Would everyone agree? Right? The pandemic was a brilliant example of it. Some children had the access to the best of the resources that anyone can imagine. Some children were not sure whether they're going to get their next meal or not. So education was, of course, a very far topic, right? People were not knowing today afternoon whether divide on the ground is so huge that practical implementation of NEP in one go is going to be impossible. So if you have any fear, any apprehension in your mind, please remove it right after the window. Nothing major is going to happen immediately, let me tell you that. Right? Second big challenge, huge digital divide. I'm sure everyone has experienced this in the pandemic. Even in some of the elite schools, certain children did not have access because certain schools, the CEO's son is also studying there. The gardener's son is also studying there. One has a fantastic device, the other doesn't. Right? I was speaking to the education secretary in Bihar, Patna. He said, sir, we know how we have come through the pandemic. Certain children had no device. We had no smart classes in the school. Children were not able to access school for 6 months at one stretch in certain districts or talukas. This was the ground level. So then how do I implement the NEP in such a scenario where I'm not able to conduct regular classes? Right? So now, once we are thinking that, okay, NEP is going to come, reforms are going to come, I can promise you one thing, they're going to come very slow, one at a time, with certain low-hanging fruits that can be implemented immediately, which I will definitely be talking about. Right? What the government is thinking. And then what should you as a school think and implement is what I'm trying to bring out in my presentation. Right? Pandemic has pushed the government schools back by 3 to 5 years. Would you agree? I've been personally to rural areas of Punjab where it is very difficult to travel. Rural areas across the country, in fact, school buildings have been affected in last 2 years because of rains. Classrooms are not in a ready condition to conduct classes. So first priority for the government today is to get everything back on track. Forget that. I was speaking to a few private school owners. They have started schools. How many of you all have started schools here? Everyone? How many of you all are having 100% attendance in each and every grade? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hands I can see. 2 here. 7 out of almost 300 to 400. So as ICSE schools, even we are facing challenges because transport is struggling. Am I right? The bus vendors are saying buses have not run for 2 years. Batteries are down. Drivers have run away. Conductors have run away. So first priority is getting things back on track. That is going to happen in the next 6 months. No major change is going to be visible on the ground for the next 6 months, at least is what I can tell you. Very confidently and very honestly. So next 6 months is all about recouping, making things come back on track slowly, one thing at a time. And once things are good to go in the next 6 months, and that is when things will come into action. Right? The biggest problem that the government is facing today is budgetary challenges. Everybody wants the sun, moon, and the stars. But do you have the resources to achieve that, right? It's like, I want to go to the moon, but I'm going to give you a bicycle. Right? So that's what the government's condition is practically on the ground today. Some states are willing to go the extra mile and spend that money. Some states don't have the money to spend on education. They don't have the money to put up basic smart classes in the school. Forget everything else. That's the challenge the government is facing, right? Structural challenges. Now, this is the most important roadblock in the implementation of NEP because the policy is coming from the central government. From center, it goes to state. From state, it is going to district. From district, it is going to sub-district. From sub-district, it is going to a block level. Have you heard of a phrase called as lost in translation? All of us? So I'm sure that is going to happen to the NEP as well. Lots of things are going to get lost in translation. It starts at 100% probability, it comes down to 25% by the time it reaches the last block. Right? So there are certain challenges. Having said that, I am not saying that NEP will not be implemented. I'm saying it will be implemented phase-wise. How? I will try and explain in a short while. Right? Moving next. So what are the challenges in India as a country? Why you can't implement NEP in one go? In India total, as of government database, there are 15 lakh schools, 25 crore students, 89 lakh teachers. If I have to train 89 lakh teachers to implement the NEP, tell me, will I be able to do it in a year's time? 2 years? 3 years? That's why you've seen a 10-year roadmap, first and foremost. Because the quantum is so huge, children are spread across different grades. right? So this is the biggest challenge. Second, cooperation between center and states. As I said, some states are very bullish that yes, we are going to implement the NEP. Some states have no clue head or tail of what's going to happen. Being very honest, right? Third, infra and capacity building, which I've already covered in the previous one. Financial challenges, again, I've already covered the budgetary part. Public-private partnerships. So that's why you will see a lot of private players entering the education space, trying to help the schools, which is a fantastic sign. When I can't build something, when I can't do something, get a professional to build that for me. It's a brilliant idea with the government, right? Moving forward. So if you notice, this is an article that I've taken from Wikipedia. It says in 2021, Karnataka became the first state to issue an order that we are going to implement the NEP, right? And then came Madhya Pradesh. They said, we are implementing the NEP. Have you seen it on the ground? Certain parts, yes, but in totality, not possible yet, right? Telangana state government decided to implement NEP in the state. UP government says we will doing it by phase post 2022. So nobody has a single clarity on the ground. As you can see, various state governments have taken various stances on how we're going to implement the NEP, right? So what I'm going to do is now, coming to our particular thing, we'll move to the next slide. So what are the key principles? Now, when I speak to these government functionaries, I ask them that NEP is such a big document. What are your core important areas that you wish to implement? So now we are coming to the practical implementation, what government is going to do. First and foremost, respect for diversity and local context. So in the government schools, local language is going to become very important. All the schools that the governments are going to do are going to promote local language. And in many schools that had a 2-language formula, there is a chance that there will be a 3-language formula in a next year or two. For example, I come from Mumbai, Maharashtra. So there are chances that our children will have to learn English, 1 language Hindi, 1 Marathi from a very young age, right from, let's say, senior KG or grade 1. That is what is the first priority in every state that I went, is implementation of local language. Now there were certain fears and apprehensions. Will my school become Marathi medium all of a sudden? No. You will have to add a subject called as Marathi and make sure that children know the state language very well. If you are from Telangana, you will have to add Telugu language and make sure that children know the local language very well. So any state that you belong to, you will have to make sure that the children are learning the local language of that particular state. That is one of the most paramount necessities of the government right now, to promote the local language. So yes, this change, you will see this either in the next 6 months or max to max 12 months. There is a chance that you will see local context, local history, local geography being taught to the students, right? Next question, use of technology. The government is very, very, very bullish on this. I can promise you one thing, in next 5 to 10 years, schools that are functioning today will be completely different when they're functioning with the help of technology. Government is going to invest heavy money on creating infrastructure at schools, removing language barriers for Divyang students, and educational planning and management. So there are 2 approaches to this also, let me tell you that. For government schools, the approach is going to be tech at school. For example, poor children don't have access to device at home. So what government is going to do is government is bringing technology in the school. They've created almost close to 50,000 crores plus rupees budget for creating smart classes in school, especially the government schools. So you will find that whenever the school shuts down, there's technology provision at school so that the children can be called in batches and they can be learned with the help of that. For private schools, it's going to be tech at home. If you want to grow as a school, government wants you to promote tech at home because you are doing a fantastic job in the school. What is the child doing at home? That is where the learning gaps are created. Will you agree? Because when we have the teachers, they understand everything fantastically. But if I am a student, understand my condition, a teacher has taught me quadratic equations in April, my prelims are going to happen in December. So by the time November comes, I have forgotten quadratic equations. So if I have a technology tool at my home, I can open that tool, revise, and I'm good to go. So technology is going to be a very, very important feature as per the government functionaries from whatever little information that I have gathered from the 20 people that I have met. Right? Third thing, emphasize conceptual understanding. So basically the government wants to move away from rote learning. So initially, now whenever the curriculum changes start happening, you will notice that the focus is more on concepts rather than basic assessments of testing and giving marks. For example, in mathematics, if I'm teaching a chapter called as mensuration, earlier we used to tell the children by heart the formula, implement in the exam. Now the concepts will come. For example, suppose if I have to paint a room, length is this much, height is this much, width is this much, how much money do I have to spend? It's a very real life example and I have to use mensuration to calculate the money. It's so basically nothing major in terms of concepts is going to change because we are already doing this for the last so many years. Am I right? ICSE as a philosophy has a beautiful focus on concepts rather than rote learning. Am I right? So here, none of you are going to have a major impact. Let me promise you that. Because the concept and the content that you guys have been teaching is absolutely fantastic. So there's no major challenge happening here for the ICSE schools, right? Unique capabilities, inclusion is a philosophy of the government. So that's why they want to recognize, identify unique students and groom them in every grade. And last, critical thinking and creativity, right? So basically the government wants to make the children street smart. And that's why in my next slide, you will see a lot of slides about vocational education. That is one thing which has been given by the government. So if I have to play the next slide, please. 5 words. I asked these 20 people, give me NEP in 5 words according to you. I asked each and every functionary that I met. First was vocational training. This is going to become very big in next 2 years. You will see introduction of subjects like coding has already come, right? Carpentry, baking, sewing, any skill that the child can do can be incorporated as a subject by the school. That is the first philosophy of the government from grade 5 onwards. I repeat, grade 5 to grade 10. One skill is what they want the children to learn extra, which will help them in their real life. I repeat, it could be as simple as joining a wire. It could be carpentry, it could be baking, it could be anything that you can imagine that will help the child in the real life. So that is one immediate focus of the government, right? Second is inclusion, right? To address the socio-economic divide. To ensure that the GER increases, the immediate target is to increase 2 crore children into schools in the next 2 years. So basically, again, that's for government school domain. We need not worry. Certain rules that I will be talking about are precisely from a government school objective, right? Next is equity. Everyone gets an equal opportunity to perform, to study, access to resources. And that is why government is going to build a lot of resources. You must have heard about Igcse. Am I right? So that is why children who don't have access to good resources, government will try to build certain resources so that equity is available, right? Next is technology. This word has been used in the NEP 43 times. So you can imagine how serious the government is about the NEP. I repeat, 43 times use of technology has been reiterated and emphasized upon, right? Last is flexibility. This is usually from grade 10 onwards. For example, if I'm in grade 11, right, I can do a lot of stuff. I can take physics and economics. I can take chemistry and psychology. For all you know, there may be a new profession called as accounts engineer. Don't be surprised, right? After a few years, you will start finding that children are having multidisciplinary talent. So they want to create taskmasters. When they step out to the actual world, they want them to have knowledge of various subjects, right? So this is what they're planning to do. These are 5 key words that I have taken out from 20 government functionaries, right? Moving forward, how will children learn? Now, this is where we as schools are going to be impacted, right? Before I move, I can see slight confusion on certain faces. मैंने तो पहले ही बोला था, some of them are nudging others. You see, I told you this is going to happen, right? So let's do, NEP talks a lot about activity-based learning, right? So let's do one small activity. Is it okay? Shall we? Okay, I'm going to ask a question. You have to raise your hands and answer. Will that be okay? You have to participate. Anybody who gives me a correct answer, I'll give you a prize. Reward system, teachers, right? I want one person who can tell me the spelling of education in reverse. Raise your hands. Don't write, Don't write on the page. Not allowed. Who's going to tell me the answer quickly? We have Seema ma'am here. So I think, excuse me. Can you help her with the mic, please? I'll just open the screen, ma'am. I'm not as smart. Give me a minute. Let me check with you, you're right or wrong. Just a minute, just a minute.
Noitacude.
Fantastic. Let's give her a huge, huge round of applause, please. Can we have a prize for her, Seema ma'am, please? Fantastic, fantastic. Okay. Anybody who's going to tell me the spelling of learning in reverse? Learning. Oh, I'll skip that. I'll skip that. You know, it's like teaching the notorious children, right? Okay, who's going to tell me the spelling of holistic? Because it talks about holistic learning. Who's going to tell me the spelling of holistic in reverse? I think we have ma'am there behind that table. Sandeep, the ma'am in pink there. Yeah, you can give it to her. Ma'am, your name, please.
Mine. R. Geeta.
Geeta, ma'am. Holistic. Let's start.
CITSILOH.
Perfect. Brilliant. Let's give her a huge round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So this is what the government is talking about, activity-based learning. So please encourage your teachers to do as many activities that they can do inside the classroom. If they can't do, make it peer-based. Let children do it amongst themselves, right? So pardon if the teacher inside me comes out again and again. Yeah, my apologies. Thank you so much. I think Seema ma'am and Geeta ma'am, let's give them a round of applause. They've got it pretty right. Perfect. So now coming to our topic, how will children learn? Can we have the next slide, please? Right? This slide captures 50% of the NEP if you ask me. I'm sure you must have seen this many times, 100 times, 1,000 times, but I'm going to give you a slightly different perspective on this particular slide, right? When we were studying, the structure was very simple. You go up to grade 10. Then you do 2 years different, grade 11 and 12. Am I right? All of us have gone through this structure. Yes or no? I can't hear the audience. I think I'll have to keep doing activities again and again. Yeah, so you'll have to answer if you will have to make the session interactive. Otherwise, I'm not going to answer questions in the end. Is it a deal? Can't hear you all. Fantastic. Yeah. So this slide is very, very important because this is where implementation of NEP begins. Now the structure is changed. 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Right? I'll tell you the practical problems on the ground also, why this is not getting implemented immediately. Right? First is going to be the foundational stage, nursery, junior, senior, grade 1, grade 2. A complete set of different curriculum is going to be designed for this. ICSE schools need not worry because you've been teaching some wonderful stuff for the last few years. This is majorly for the government schools, majorly. Right? Why? I will tell you that also in some time. Right? So this is a major challenge, the foundational stage. This is where government wants to implement the NEP. I have met at least education secretaries of 8 states. I asked them, what is the first thing that you will implement? And everybody has told me foundational stage. There's a directive from the government to implement FLN programs first. Foundation, literacy, numeracy. This is going to be the biggest driver of the NEP to begin with. And then you will see the changes in the other sections going forward later on. Right? So I'll move to the next slide and explain what is happening. Why foundation literacy numeracy? So government has kept 3 goals that they want to implement. First, making foundational learning the highest priority because children today are not going to schools in the rural areas. So they want to add at least 2 crore children by next 2 years and give them at least basic foundation of education. Right? Second, they're going to launch a mission on FLN and they want to achieve universal FLN by 26-27. One thing I will tell you, NEP implementation is delayed by 2 years. So whatever you see on the screen, please add 2 years to that automatically. Whenever I talk about a timeline, I've taken the timeline from the NEP, but we are already running 2 years late. Right? So anywhere, if you see a change in your school, it's going to be the junior KG to grade 2 segment first. In terms of curriculum, in terms of activities, in terms of assessments, everything. Because that is the government's first goal that government wants to implement going forward. This is a survey done by the government in India. The sample survey says 72% of children in class 2 cannot read a simple statement in English. 72%, can you imagine? So without correcting this, you can't even think of imagining or implementing other things in the NEP. That's why the foundation stage is a cornerstone on the NEP, which is going to be implemented biggest. Sure, right? 71.9, that is almost 72% children cannot solve a basic subtraction by class 10. Believe you me, this is happening in private schools also in the tier 2, tier 3 towns. Children are not able to do subtraction grade 3, grade 4, they're struggling because they've just been passed. So government basically wants to correct this, and that's why the biggest and the most significant change of the NEP is going to be in the FLN segment. Foundation, literacy, numeracy. That is what is going to happen. So anytime that you wish to implement a change in your school, my personal advice would be start with the toddlers. Nursery to grade 2, what is the list of activities that you can add? What is the list of games that you can play with them? What is the kind of learning that they can carry home? Because that is where the gap is, am I right? And that's where technology can help. I was just seeing a toddler. He said, Mummy, I've been taught B for bat in the school, but you are teaching me B for butterfly. So children are confused at home, and that's where the learning gaps need to be addressed. Right? Moving forward, grade 3 is the inflection point which government wants to have the children ready with 4 skills. Right? So I'm sure check whether these are implemented in your schools or not. If not, please start implementing immediately. First, reading with comprehension. Are your children in your school able to read? Not only read, comprehend or understand that particular thing that they have read. If it is there, you are already implementing the NEP. Don't worry, sleep peacefully. If you are not, then there's a challenge. You need to implement this ASAP. Right? So first thing is reading with comprehension. Second, writing. I have been to schools, top schools, bottom schools, border area schools, no access to anything. Children are not able to write. So are children in your school able to write properly as per the key milestones that you've set for them? Right? If they are doing that, you're already implementing the LEP. Don't worry about anything. It's already happening in your school. Right? Third, basic mathematical operation. This is the biggest struggle. Children are not able to do math. Right? And if you're making sure that this is happening in your school, be rest assured you don't have anything to worry about. The curriculum that you're doing right now will be absolutely fantastic to go with. And last, learning basic life skills. This can be added by every school. So if you ask me as an ICSE school, sir, what should I do first? My advice is this. What basic life skills can you add for your children from nursery to grade 2? Then you have started implementing the NEP. So life skills is something that the children are going to be looking forward to. You have to make them street smart, as I said. That's the language that the government functionaries are using. And if they know the basic life skills, I'm sure they'll be street smart going forward. Because eventually, one thing that we have realized is academics is not going to be the end all and be all of everything. Would you agree? Many of us are not the first rankers of our times, but we are doing much better than the first rankers of our times. Would you agree? Because we are street smart. So that's what the government wants the children to be, absolutely street smart. So from the FLN perspective, these 4 things is what the government is focusing on. If you're doing these 4 things in your school, trust me, you have started implementing the NEP already. You don't need to worry about anything because this is what is going to come. Right? Next slide, please. This is how the government defines junior, senior KG children, grade 1, grade 2 children. This is what they should know by the time grade 2 ends. 1, developing curiosity. Right? So you play a game, you ask them to guess certain options, you develop curiosity. I was curious, how will holistic sound if I spell it backwards? We did a game in front of you, we had the answer. Right? Second, logical thinking, problem solving. By the time grade 2 comes, mathematical operations will need to be implemented here. Right? Third is arts, craft and music. The government is very particular about promoting a 360-degree holistic development. That's why I said arts, craft, music are going to be equally important going forward. Right? Relationship with nature, experiential learning. The NEP says 10 bagless days or 10 days without walls going to be compulsory for each and every student. So what have you planned for those 10 days? If you can implement something in relationship with nature, you've done your fantastic implementation of NAP. So basically, what we were teaching in the classroom will need to, for example, if I'm teaching something about nature, might as well take them to this garden and actually show them the real flower in front of them, right? Next point, colors, shapes, alphabets, numbers. I need not talk about this much. We've been teaching this for years and years, right? Teamwork and collaboration. So projects are going to be coming. How can children collaborate from a young age? So 21st century is a century of collaboration and not competition. Will you agree, everyone? And believe me, last 2 years have been a testament to that. Am I right? The kind of way the principals have come together at conferences, shared their views, shared the best practices is a brilliant example of how we could tackle the pandemic overall, right? Next, a play-based discovery and learning. This has been happening in schools for years. Ethics, again, self-identity, etiquette, behavior, and emotional development. This is the first and the most important goal of the government. I repeat, I reiterate, FLN, foundation, literacy, numeracy. Whatever major changes come will be coming in this particular regard in the next 2 to 3 years. The lower ones. That's where the foundation will build, and then eventually natural progression will happen. Right? Moving on. Now come to a very important question, the curriculum. Before I move to the curriculum, I said I'm a teacher by profession, so I'd like to do activity-based learning. I can see some teachers nicely sipping coconut water, and I'm feeling very jealous. So I'm going to make them drop that coconut and do one small activity. Is everyone ready? Sure? People are not talking here. I think something was lacking in the breakfast. All right, so let's do an activity. I'll need someone on the stage to help me, please. Just come. Sandeep. Put your hands in front of you, both the hands. Quickly. Put your hands in front of you, both of them. When I say 3, you have to clap. I repeat, not slap. The person sitting in front of you, clap. Right? So when I say 3, clap. 1, 2, 3. One condition, everyone has to clap together. Absolute synchronization. If I hear a clap here and there, I'll make you keep clapping always. Clear? Shall we start? 1, 2, 3. No, there's somebody at the back clapped very late. I can see one sir in sunglasses. Sir, you need to buck up. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. This time, Perrine ma'am, slightly late. Slightly late. Okay, 1, 2, 3. What happened? Why are you clapping without me? So don't you think this happens with students also? We give them an instruction so crystal clear, they end up following it, and then we end up getting angry. Why you didn't follow my instruction clearly? Does this happen in schools also? You know, they tell them, I had told you not to do it. Still you did it. That's what happens. That's what life is, right? That's how children learn. So this is what. So moving to curriculum, I'm sure majority of you have questions relating to this. Am I right? Will syllabus change? Right? When the NEP was announced, I got some wonderful questions, you know, from principals across various schools. Is syllabus going to change? Is our board going to be there? Or will it vanish in thin air? Nothing of that sort is going to happen. Relax. Right? So let me tell you what the government is thinking very clearly as far as the curriculum is concerned. First, next slide, core essentials. Curriculum in all subjects to be reduced to its core essentials. For example, if I'm in grade 9 or grade 10, we all have been teaching linear equation, Pythagoras theorem, trigonometry, probability, statistics, lot of stuff. Am I right? But I see the chapter is what, 20 pages, 25 pages, 30 pages. Children have to learn at least 150 to 200 sums in one chapter. Will you agree? That's going to reduce. The chapter will only be about core essentials. What is a concept? How can you solve sums with the help of that concepts? And a few sums on that particular concept. So that will make the board exams very simple for the child. That is the first objective that government ministers have told us. We want to make board exams as simple as possible. And that is what the NEP also says. For example, you will see in the last few years, if I talk about the state government schools, somebody has scored 100 out of 100 in language. And I was shocked because when we were in school, getting 80 out of 100 in language was supposed to be like, wow. Am I right? So that's why you'll see lives of children are going to become very, very simple. Board exams are going to become very, very simple because academics will be talking about core essentials only. In simple words, jitna zarurat hai, utna padhaiye. not the extra concepts, right? Second, critical thinking. So yes, curriculum is going to change. The concepts that are going to come in will be new age concepts talking about critical thinking, inquiry-based learning, discovery, discussion, analysis. So basically anything that happens in a college or an MBA college is going to be taught to the children at a lower grade so that by the time they finish their school, they are pretty much, in a good position to implement that what they've learned in the school in the real life. Today, the biggest drawback of the current education system is what children are learning in schools and colleges is not applicable in real life. Will you agree? If you don't believe me, ask any HR consultant, he will tell you. When they sit for recruitment, the theory knowledge that they get is super fantastic. Practical implementation is virtually zero. So the idea is to make the children ready for smart skills. Again, I'm saying this is what the government says. So I know I'm going to get questions in the end. आपने तो बोला ये हो जाएगा. मैंने नहीं बोला, government ने बोला. Right? So this is what the government has been telling us. Right? Next, interactive classes. I think we don't need any education in this last 2 years. Every teacher of your school has become an online virtual teaching champion. Am I right? They know who's on mute, who's talking, who has shut a screen. And children are trying to become smarter, but teachers are becoming even smart because some teachers were last benchers in their own times. So they know what mischief is going to happen. I'll share one incident that my daughter did. Her class was going on. The teacher said, okay, Ria, answer this. She was on a mobile device. She shut down the internet. After 5 minutes, she logged in. Sorry, sir, internet went off. No problem, Ria, I asked somebody else. So children have become very smart. So teachers will have to become smarter because children today are digital natives. They are wired differently, they are born differently, they understand tech differently. I'm sure you bring a new mobile device to your house, your children will know the features much better than you. Right? For example, let me do a small survey. How many of you here are on Facebook? Raise your hands. Wow, brilliant. Almost 80% of the audience. Brilliant. How many of you here are on Instagram? I can see only half now. So 40% of the audience. How many of you here are on Snapchat? I can see only 5 hands. How many of you know about the Discord app server? 1, 2, 3, 4. You won't believe in certain schools when online exams were happening, children were putting in the question paper on Discord server and children were answering. Right? So as I said, children know and understand tech differently. The biggest takeaway, if you ask me for a school principal or a school head, what is it that I should do? My advice would be teach them technology. The better they know tech, the more efficient they will be. The smarter the analytics will happen. And more importantly, they'll save their time. Imagine I have seen teachers correcting MCQ papers non-stop. It can happen in 60 seconds with the help of technology. Accurate results. So if you were to ask me one takeaway from the NEP as a teacher, I would say teach them tech because they know the content very well. You need not teach your teachers content, they are champions at them. So you teach them what they don't know, not what they already know. Right? Moving on. Experiential learning, very important. This is going to be a very key takeaway. 10 days without bags, 10 days without walls. What do you do in such 10 days? Right? Can you give them a virtual tour, let's say to a Singapore zoo or to a Dubai aquarium or to a London zoo? Can you do this sitting here? That's actual experiential learning. Can you call professionals to your school? Can you call a professional baker who will teach them how to bake a small cake with the help of biscuits at home? Can you call a professional carpenter who will show your kids some basic thing that they can do at home without any tools? It's called DIY, do it yourself. So DIY activities are going to be very crucial going forward in the years to come, right? So this is what is going to happen in curriculum. Again, I'm saying curriculum and pedagogy was to be transformed by 2022. It has not happened. It will happen in the next 2 years because we're running late by 2 years because of the pandemic, plus another 6 months to get things back on track. So 2 to 2.5 years lag is what you will see in the practical implementation as far as curriculum is also concerned, right? Revision of NCF. So for the FLN part, which I was talking about, a new body is going to be created, National Curricular and Pedagogical Framework for Early Childhood Education. This will be drafted by the NCERT. One fact all of us will have to now accept, NCERT is going to become very important in drafting the curriculum. right? Whatever they draft, it is not that we have to follow as it is, copy as it is. They will draft a framework. That framework needs to be emulated by the other boards and the councils, which is already happening, so you need not worry. For example, I have done a study of almost 15 state boards, the ICSE curriculum and the CBSE curriculum. All 17 boards and the council have a chapter called as linear equation. All have a chapter called as quadratic equation. All have a chapter called as Pythagoras theorem. All have a chapter called as trigonometry. All have a chapter called as statistics. All have a chapter called as probability. So you need not worry. As far as the curriculum is concerned, there's going to be a framework given to them. After that, every state and every board will have the freedom to emulate that particular content in their own way, plus add local flavors to it. So will ICSE curriculum change completely? The answer is no. Will you have to follow the CBSE? The answer is yes and no. Yes, because you will have to look at the framework that they are giving. No, because you don't have to copy the framework. You have to build something looking at the framework, which should be matching. It's as simple as that. I hope I'm making myself clear here. Because these questions were there in many minds, if I'm not wrong, and that's why I'm trying to make my presentation in a question answer format. What principals are thinking. So I've asked these specific questions to the chief ministers, education ministers, and the education secretaries, right? Moving forward, next slide, please. So roadmap of implementation, curriculum, which I was talking about. First point says development of national curriculum framework for school education at the national level. So there'll be one national structure which will be created by the NCERT. Very clear, right? So now if I'm an independent council, I can't think of my own framework. I'll have to look at that framework and design my own framework. I'll have to emulate that. I'm again repeating, I'll not have to copy that as it is. I'll have to emulate that for sure. Right. Next, development of model syllabi and textbooks in core subjects by NCERT. So NCERT is going to build the books first. Math, science, English, 3 subjects specifically. History and geography will be given the choice, will be left to the state governments. Because every state has a different history. For example, in Telangana right now in the state government, they are teaching the Telangana freedom struggle. But in Maharashtra, they are teaching about the Marathas, Shivaji Maharaj. So every state has a different history. So history textbooks can be different. They need not be absolutely similar to what these NCERT subscribes. Even geography textbooks, because every state is different, their resources are different. The education perspective of every geography is different. And that's why history and geography are 2 subjects which are going to be slightly different at every state level. And that is why it says development of model course material and guidelines on language, culture, knowledge of India, etc. One thing that's going to happen in curriculum is going to become India centric. That is one thing for sure cast in stone. That your history textbooks will be about India, your geography textbooks will be about India, your English textbooks will be about India, your maths and science examples will be about India. Your curriculum is going to become India centric. So in 4 years or 5 years from now, you will not be teaching the world wars anymore. You will be teaching about what has happened in India in the past. That's very clear, cast in stone, no questions asked. It's as simple as that. Curriculum is going to become India centric, right? Moving forward. And that's why, just one back, please. That's why the additional things that you build from now will help. It is not going to stop you from teaching extra things. Now, please don't misunderstand me. If I am a school, the book wants me to teach about the Mughals, I'll teach about the Mughals. I can also teach about the World War in the form of some activity or experiential learning through some other way. You know, watch a video and answer the questions. When I say experiential learning, don't go out to fight a war like it started today morning. So don't misunderstand me, right? All right, going forward. So what will the new curriculum talk about? What are the 5 to 6 important things that the curriculum is going to be talking about, right? First is competency-based education. Modules on preparing and implementing pedagogical plans based on competency and outcome-based. So anything that you do or implement has to have an outcome, right? I'll just take a check on the time. Am I running late? I think I may have to just rush through in next 5 minutes. I'll try and wind up as fast as possible. Yeah, in next 5 minutes, I'll try and wind up as fast as possible. So I'll just run through the points quickly. Integration of subjects, arts, sports, everything that you can relate to curriculum. Development of scientific temper, no silos among subjects learning, emphasis on digital literacy, and promotion of multilingual teaching. This is the whole philosophy on which the curriculum is going to be built going forward, right? Next. Textbook with local content and flavor. All textbooks to contain only essential core material. Next, concentrated efforts through suitable changes. Very important, reduce the weight of school bags and textbooks. And that's why I'm saying, please start using tech. The moment you use tech, the weight of the bag automatically goes down. It's as simple as that, right? And last one, states to prepare their own curricula and textbooks based on NCERT curriculum, incorporating state flavor as and when needed. Very clearly, it says you need not copy what NCERT is doing. You can copy the framework or you can get inspired from the framework and then create your own curriculum with local flavors. Not a challenge at all. Absolute freedom, right? Moving on. India's future and so basically I asked them what innovative things you are doing. So they said computational thinking, because if you notice, India is not a production hub. Will you agree? We are a services hub. All major engineers in US companies are from India. You go to any country in the world today. And that's why government wants to promote tech from a very young age. So they wanted to solve three problems. One was computational thinking. Second was contemporary subjects, and third was mathematical thinking. All three can be solved with the help of one subject, and that's why they've introduced something called as coding. Coding will help you understand English, coding will help you understand math, and coding will help you understand computational thinking. All three rolled into one. So if you're doing coding in your schools, you're actually catering to three subjects, right? Moving forward. Examinations in grade 1 to 8. Right? First key stage assessments, census assessments, grade 3, 1 common exam, grade 5, 1 common exam, grade 8, 1 common exam. Don't worry about this for next 4 years. Not going to happen. So I'm not speaking much on that. Right? Moving away from rote learning, just as previous slide, please. I'm just running through quickly. Achievements of critical learning objectives and results of school examination for continuous monitoring. Right? Next. Reforming examinations, grade 9 to 12. Because I'm running late, I'm not spending much time on this. Next. Multilingualism and power of language learning, medium of instruction up to grade 5. Preferably grade 8 and beyond will be home language for government schools. For private schools, you'll have to introduce the mother tongue of that particular state and make sure that it is studied as an additional subject. That's what's going to happen, right? Languages of India, fun project activity to be taken by every student. So especially in the FLN grade 1 and 2 onwards, give them a project on the languages of India. That's what the government wants, right? 3 languages to be taught, which 3 will be decided by the respective state or union territory. And last, all classical languages will be widely available in schools as options. So for example, many schools didn't have Sanskrit as an option. We'll have to give Sanskrit as an option going forward in a couple of years from now, right? Going forward. So I think the school part I'll just run through quickly. Next slide. So schools are going to have a school standard authority. Believe me, it's not coming at least to next 3 years. I can promise you. But in the future, you have to be prepared. This authority will judge each and every school, will rank each and every school like it happens in Dubai. Can you move to the next slide? I'll show you a small example of what happens in Dubai. Each and every school is rated by the government, whether it is an acceptable school, good school, very good school, fantastic school. Similar plans they're having in India, not going to happen for the next 4 to 5 years. I can promise you that. Right, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Next. So key focus areas. Again, I think I'll cover most of the points. Next, Sumit. So what the NEP wants, it wants to relink education with life. That's the biggest purpose of the NEP. That's what they're trying to implement, right? Going forward. Parak, I will not speak much. I've spoken about the assessments already. Goals and timelines of implementation. This was the original timeline, right? Class 9 was supposed to change in 21-22. Class 10 was supposed to change in 22-23. Has not happened because of COVID. So please add 2 years to the whole timeline. You get the implementation timelines automatically, right? Next. So to conclude, I'm concluding my presentation. Next 2 slides. 3 things. Core competencies, that is academics, skills, and experiential learning. How do you achieve this? Click with the help of technology. All 3 are possible with the NEP. This is what the government wants, right? Next. To conclude, as a school leader, get ready for new subjects being introduced. Get ready for a new curriculum within a year or two with slight changes, not major changes. Get ready for use of technology at school and at home. Get ready for introducing skill-based subject and get ready for an India-centric curriculum. Right? Next, action points as a school leader, what you need to do. Train the teachers better for new and interesting topics or new and interesting curriculum. Tie up with professionals for technology skills and experiential learning. Collaboration with other schools, sharing of resources. This is a very interesting thing. Because if some school wants to implement technology, but the cost is very high, form a partnership with the school next to you. Buy it jointly, your cost will be very low. Just to give an idea. Similarly, training, whatever you wish to do. Examples. Introduce new skill-based subjects like coding and keep experimenting with assessment patterns, new and new, right? So with this, I'd like to conclude. Thank you so much. This is my number. This is my email ID in case you have any questions or you want this PPT, I will personally send it to you. Reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to do that. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been such a pleasure. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you. I would like to invite Ranjan Mittal sir on the stage. So in case if there are any questions from the audience, I know I've already overshot my time. We'll be able to take maximum 1 or 2 questions. So in case if the audience has a question, I reiterate, I may not have answers to all your questions right now because even the government doesn't. Whatever is in my best possible capacity, I'll try and answer. Thank you so much. I think you may want to use this, sir. I think there's an additional hand mic here. I'll just
yeah. So I'll ask you a quick questions as the questions are coming in. What happens to the IB and Igcse schools?
So the boards will continue as it is, sir. There's not going to be much of a differentiation. In the immediate run, at least next 5 years, nothing happens to any board, any curriculum. Maybe 5 years down the lines, the government defines.
Because that won't be India-centric.
Right. So that's why it's a certain international boards and private schools will have the liberty to function the way that they have been functioning, sir. It's not going to be a major challenge. Okay. And that's why it's a certain points are majorly for Indian schools and especially government-run schools. That's the whole idea there.
Okay, another quick question as the questions come because there's nothing yet online.
Sure.
As of now, let's say there are many schools that are affiliated to this board from class 1 onwards. Okay. So once you start with the FLN thing, what happens?
Nothing happens, sir. As I said, we continue in the same philosophy that we've been going. The government doesn't have any major plans of shifting a board, shifting a council, starting a board, shutting down a board. Nothing.
So that wasn't my question. My question is, there are today, as you said, there are primary schools functioning in India.
Right.
There are also pre-primary schools functioning in India that are not affiliated to anybody.
Right.
What happens there?
So basically, they also will have the idea or liberty to look at this curriculum and try to implement in their private capacity as well. Because right now there is no monitoring authority as such, so nobody is going to go and check what they are doing.
Envisaged here?
That has been, yes. For preschools, there's a separate thing, but because of paucity of time, I couldn't cover everything here.
So when the new framework comes in for
the private preschools will also have to implement that for sure.
Yes. Okay. All right. So now,
any questions from the audience?
I preempted you, so please ask.
I think we have a question there. If somebody can help us with the mic.
Yeah, I think
I'm feeling like I'm giving my Viva now. Yeah, sir, please, by all means.
1 second.
Yes. Shall I ask question?
Yeah. Yes.
The governments are going to implement, as far as pre-primary schools are concerned, from the next academic year itself. Nursery, junior, senior will be implemented, recognized, accepted. All that will be starting from 22-23 academic years. If not in every state, most of the states. Gujarat already started now.
Shall I?
I think.
1 second. I have microphone here, please. There.
Yes. Bridges, sir.
Yeah, I think there's a question there. I'll just answer that and come to you. Yeah.
Question.
Is that
I think
medium of instruction will be local language or only additional subject will be taught?
Use this.
For the government schools, primarily it will be the local language. For the private schools, you'll have to add an additional subject. If it is an already English medium running school, you need not convert it into a Marathi medium school starting tomorrow. So the medium of instruction remains English. Only thing is you have to add the local state subject as a separate subject altogether. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Brijesh, you said 3 language to be taught. Now tell me, already they are overburdened with studies.
Right.
So will that not be an additional burden of learning 3rd language?
Perfect. That's why, ma'am, they're trying to create a balance by reducing the load in the other subjects.
I see.
So for example, suppose if as a school I was teaching 400 hours worth of academics, they will try to fit this within that 400 hours by trying to cut the number of hours in the other subject.
Or could the 3rd language not be a functional language?
Ma'am, as I said, so that will be decided by the state government more specifically, but more or less the 3 language formula is going to be there for
has
sure.
to be there.
Yeah, 99% yes, but eventually, as I said, this is India. Anything can happen at the last minute, one PIL, one court case, and the decision might change. I'm talking about what is in the plans, but the
Okay.
execution is a far while away.
Thank you.
Yeah, but as sir said, majority implementation, the states, the governments have passed orders. From next year, you'll start seeing changes on the ground. So sir has hit the nail on the head, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I think there was a question there.
Hello. So thank you so much. I got my answer. It was all about integration of pre-primary school, but Honorable Emmanuel sir is already clarified. Thank you.
Okay, let's see what other questions have come in here. I now have 2 mics, I can pass. And I think we are getting some questions online, so just give me a moment. So, yeah. Will there be a need to shift to international boards?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily at all, because the way the boards have been functioning, each and every board has been doing justice to their target audiences. So there's no need immediately to switch to any board as of now.
All right, so that was one of the questions. Okay. Nothing so far, nothing more.
I think ma'am here has a question, Sandeep.
There's a
If you
question
can just
here.
pass on the mic.
What about the 10th board exam?
I'm sorry.
Here.
Yeah.
What
so,
about
So ma'am, 10th board exam is a slightly different topic. So I just take a minute more on that. So basically 10th board exams may go away and there may be a semester pattern that may come in, like you have in engineering and MBA colleges. You do a 6-monthly exam, but there are major challenges in certain states. For example, I come from Mumbai. In Maharashtra, in Karnataka and Telangana, Andhra, these challenges are very common. In all the other states in India, you will find schools are till grade 12. Am I right? But in these 4 states that I mentioned, schools are only till grade 10. In Maharashtra, we have something called as a junior college. In Karnataka, they have something called as a PU college, pre-university. And in Andhra and Telangana, they have something called as the intermediate for grade 11 and 12. So for these places, my question is, where does the child go then after 10 standard board exams? So that formula is yet to be worked out. So I don't think there'll be an immediate decision outwardly on that. It may take a year's time or so for the government to come up with a formula of what happens to these students post grade 10. For other states, it's very simple. They move to grade level in the same school. If there's an ISC available, or if there's a CBSE grade 11 and 12 available. But right now, there's no immediate answer even with the government on this particular regard. The plan is to make it, to do away with the grade 10 board exam and do a board exam at grade 12. That's the original plan. Right? So, but these are complications that we are facing. So there's no immediate answer to that, to be very honest. Yes, ma'am.
One more question.
Dr. Brijesh, you have explained everything very well, but these days we have a lot of commercialization of education, wherein there are a lot of organizations who keep on bothering parents about coding and other courses such like that. So where do you see coding and experiential learning in the near future?
Beautiful question. I see it as a part of the curriculum. So what happens, ma'am? The commercialization bit happens post the school hours. And that's why you will see the parents are very frustrated. But if we as schools can make coding as a part of the curriculum, I have personally seen that in 50 schools in last 6 months. Every week there is one period of coding. Every 3 months there's an exam happens. So coding has become a graded subject. The best part of coding is you can integrate it with your syllabus also. For example, you're teaching friction in grade 5, you can teach friction with the help of coding as well. So my idea of implementation of any new subject is make it a part of the curriculum, then the interest level is automatically higher. If you do it an after school course, the uptake is not going to be there at all. It's the same thing with experiential learning. Children are within the school, take them to an ICT lab, give them a nice virtual tour of some beautiful place in the earth. They'll be very happy to do that. Right? So that's the way we look at it.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Hello.
Sure, sir.
You see,
Hello.
Sure, sir.
Hello.
Yeah. Sir, I couldn't hear you last time. You're speaking that side. I think the voice carried away. I don't know. Yeah.
Mr. Ranjan Mitra asked a question. Is there a need for us to shift from ICSE to IB, Igcse? Definitely those students who wish to pass this PISA exam, TIMSS exam, maybe PEARLS exam, ECR exam, Igcse exam, because international colleges, international schools definitely required scores from these standardized tests. They don't allow these. If your child wants to go to those international colleges, schools, there is no point of reducing syllabus, math, science, reading. For example, if child required to get into international schools and colleges, he or she is supposed to read, at least repeat 60 words initially in class 3, 90 words by the time child completes class 3. Therefore, it's essential for us to maintain standard in English, mathematics, and sciences. We cannot afford to reduce at all. Please note.
Perfect. Brilliant, sir. Can we have a round of applause for sir, please?
Yeah. So that wasn't my question. It's on the online thing.
I think the boards, you wanted the schools to switch is what you were asking.
No. I was asking something else as a follow-up to ma'am's question.
Okay.
This is a new one. You see, as a nation, as a society, we are very content focused.
Right.
You know, the fatter the book, our feeling is there's more content, will help me more.
Right.
And that's why private tuition is such a huge racket, because they feel school is only kind of
covering the topmost layer of that. Yeah.
Just doing the surface and then running away.
Right.
So will this trend will not be mistaken by parents unless there is a lot of relearning at a social level.
Right.
Because this might lead to, whatever content we don't cover,
right,
being covered by the Akashas and the Baijus of the world.
Perfect. So two answers to that, sir. The first answer is that's why they are starting it from the foundation itself. So that's why the first goal is not grade 9, grade 10, grade 8 to begin with. So they're planning to change the curriculum from a junior KG, senior KG. So by the time the child actually comes to grade 8, 9, 10, he knows that this is what I've been doing for the last so many years.
Yes.
And by that time, there's every chance that the moment he's come to grade 10, the board exams might have disappeared for all you know. Right? 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line. So that pressure will automatically reduce. The only thing is, because it has been built over such a huge period of time, it will not go away overnight, sir. It will take 4 to 5 years.
Importantly, sir, entrances at university level, those formats will need.
So yeah, so now that is where I'm coming to.
Those are content focused.
Yes, so now what will happen, sir? Two things are going to happen. In many states, there are these coaching classes which operate up to grade 10 for even the board exams or the council exams. They will slowly lose their importance, but the test prep segment is going to gain a lot of importance. For example, people who give their JEE and NEET, just to share some data, 15 lakh children give the JEE mains every year. 15 lakh is a huge number, right? While some schools have the resources to provide them that knowledge within the school hours, I think 80% of the schools don't, and that's why they go to these private players and try to get that coaching which is not there in the book. So competitive test prep segment is going to become even more important, and that's why you're seeing the kind of valuation that you're seeing for these private companies now, keeping the future in mind.
All right. Questions, please.
Ma'am, I think has been wanting to ask for a long time. In the meanwhile, I'll answer
Yes,
first question.
As NCERT books are concerned, is it mandatory? In some state, government is compelling to use NCERT book.
Yes, sir. In fact, many state government schools have transformed already. For example,
and cases
states
are also pending in high courts.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So certain states, what happens? So there are three approaches to this. One is the core is CBSE. CBSE adopts a certain things, and that's why if you notice my second slide, I had mentioned something called as cooperation between center and states. So wherever the government, the synergy is matching, you will find a very natural transition that we have also moved to CBSE books. In fact, many states in India today, grade 6 onwards up to grade 10, follow NCERT books for maths and science only. Many states have already started adopting, sir, because there is synergy between the two governments. Certain states have not done that because they believe that education is a state subject as far as their state is concerned, and they want to manage that in that particular regard. So yes, as I said, sir, this is the thought, the policy as a document, the functionaries who are going to implement, and the people who are going to be impacted by this. But there's another ecosystem, the parent community, the student community, the teacher community, the high courts, the Supreme Courts. And that's why I told ma'am that nothing is cast in stone till it is done. They say in English, proof of the pudding is in the eating, as you can look at me and imagine. So that's how it is, sir.
Okay, so there are no more online questions. So thank you.
I think
Ashokji.
ma'am wanted, so one last question we'll take, sir. Ma'am,
I think, sir, we are all here.
Right.
We have crossed the time limit by
I'm really sorry.
No, you shouldn't be sorry. It was a very enlivening discussion. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And we'll all be there.